So Hunter Biden was convicted. Big freaking deal. This trial was a sham. Just like the Trump trial, it was a sham, but a sham for a different reason. It's a sham designed to legitimize the Trump conviction. That's why it came right after, even for charges that date way far back. But it also avoids accountability for the Biden crime family on the actual things that Hunter Biden should have been charged for. Like, for example, peddling foreign influence while his actual father, Joe Biden, was the vice president of the United States. Hunter had no business serving on the board of a Ukrainian energy company, a state-affiliated energy company that's affiliated with the same country, Ukraine, that his father, now as the U.S. president, is sending hundreds of billions of dollars of your taxpayer money to. That's where the real crimes lie. So this deflects accountability for the actual investigations that are more close to implicating Joe Biden, while coming in convenient timing right after the sham Trump conviction in the veil of bipartisanship. Don't buy it. I said this before, I'll say it again. This is a smoke screen, and the reality is you got to cut through it to get to the essence of what's happening in this country.
All right, you guys check this out, right? MSNBC. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with MSNBC or you watch it regular, but if you're checking out this channel, you probably understand exactly what it is. They are a propaganda network, right? So this morning, Joe is, for all the hard time they give Fox News, this MSNBC is just, I mean, blatantly and incredibly an outlet for the Democratic Party, a media source to promote the Democrat Party and the left-wing ideologies. But anyhow, I was watching this and I got so irritated and kind of disgusted with the way that they paint Joe and Hunter Biden as opposed to Trump, which is nothing new, but listen to the size and this poor guy. Let's remember, Hunter Biden is a 54-year-old man, right? I'm 52. He's a 54-year-old man. He's my age. And he has never in his life experienced consequences for any of his actions. None. This is the first time he has ever faced the consequences for his actions. He has used he was raised a senator's son, turned VP's son, turned now president's son, and has depended on his name, his last name, to shield him using the power, the money, and the influence that comes with that name. His daddy has protected him his whole life, which, you know, we could talk about that, how much influence that has had on his addiction and his continuing addiction for years. But we'll talk more about that later. But anyhow, yeah, let's take a look at this. I want you guys to watch this broadcast and tell me what you think about the way they just throw out such sympathy and the soft voices and poor Hunter and all of this. This is a 54-year-old man who's a junkie who has made millions, hundreds of millions of dollars peddling his name around the world. This isn't a poor guy. This is a terrible guy. But listen to how they paint this.
And we begin with what comes next for Hunter Biden. After a jury yesterday found him guilty on all 3 felony charges on his federal gun trial, the president's son had pleaded not guilty to the 3 counts tied to lying on a federal gun application about his drug use. Sources inside the defense room tell NBC News that following the verdict, Hunter Biden thanked everyone there by name, hugged them, and tried to raise their spirits. He later issued this public statement, quote,
Listen to her. He later issued this public statement. It's disgusting, the obvious act. These people are actors. They're not journalists. They're actors.
We're grateful today for the love and support I experienced this last week from Melissa, my family, my friends, and my community, then I am disappointed by the outcome. The recovery is possible by the grace of God, and I am blessed to experience that gift one day at a time. Special counsel David Weiss spoke.
Did you hear that big sigh? Poor Hunter. Oh, he's such a good guy. This is a dirtbag. He's a complete and utter dirtbag. The things that he has done to the women that surround him, the one he got knocked up and then ditched her, ran out. It hadn't had anything to do with her. Now he's not even, the only reason he's having anything to do with his kid now by her is because she kind of forced him to. I don't know if you saw that interview with her, but we can watch that another time. But took his dead brother's widow, started moving in on her and turned her into a crackhead. This guy is the apex of dirtbags.
Briefly to reporters following the verdict.
No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle and to the principles of federal prosecution in carrying out its responsibilities.
Hunter Biden and his attorney have said they plan to appeal this verdict. As I mentioned, President Biden issued a statement reacting to the verdict in his son's gun trial. It reads in part, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to...
Good Lord, I couldn't stop that. Let's go back here a minute. He's issued a statement. So let me start that back over because I kind of interrupted. I got lost here. But let's see what Joe has to say. But Joe is running this this scheme or this scam or this act. He's pulling this act like he is the caring, nurturing father who is. This isn't a 20-year-old kid. It's not a 20-year-old kid who's turning his life around. It's a 54-year-old man who has wrecked lives around him his entire life. He's wrecked the people around him his entire life.
His son's gun trial. It reads in part, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that, end quote. Last week, the president said very clearly he will not pardon his son. President Biden also had an emotional...
Okay, so I'm going to call bull on that. He's going to pardon his son. You're telling me that he has the ability and the authority. If this judge goes to throw Hunter into prison for 25 years, he's going to pardon him or commute the sentence. Hunter's not going to see a day in jail over this. Now, I don't expect that the judge will do that because Hunter has some more charges coming up, and I believe, I'm almost certain that as Congress continues to sort through this case and put their report together over the Biden, what they call the Biden crime family global escapades, they're going to find many more crimes on Hunter, and he's going to be referred to the DOJ. Now, I won't expect the DOJ under Biden to do much about that, but those referrals to the DOJ aren't going to expire until before the next election. So this is important that we get Donald Trump elected so that Hunter can be brought to justice, and so that Joe Biden can be brought to justice. As those referrals come, 4 more years of a Biden presidency aren't going to find justice. They will remain below the law or above the law. they say no one is above the law, but I can assure you that Joe Biden's Department of Justice will not entertain the criminal referrals that for criminal investigation referrals that the Republican Congress gives to them on Hunter Biden. So it's imperative. I mean, for many other reasons, and we're going to continue to talk about that up until the election. For many reasons, it's important that Donald Trump wins the next presidency, but certainly for this, because I believe, and I think it's pretty clear, and I think when Congress comes out with their report, when the House comes out, is a Judiciary Committee, whatever, the committee who's been creating the report on the Biden, so-called Biden crime family, as James Comer calls them, they will, we're going to see exactly where all of this, what all has been done by the Biden crime family. So anyhow,
Emotional reunion with Hunter late yesterday. The two hugged on the tarmac after the president changed his schedule and flew to Delaware following an event in Washington, Joe.
Yeah, I just wonder. The prosecutor said that Hunter Biden.
Can anybody stand this guy, Joe Scarborough? I mean, what a twat, huh? I've watched him several times, and I can't stand him. I mean, I can make fun of his looks, but that would be a simple target. But just his personality is so grating. I don't know how anybody could stand to sit and listen to him. He's married to this woman. Can you imagine living in this household with these two? God, that would be awful. Be entertaining, but yeah. So anyhow, he's going to go through this thing about I don't know, I can't remember, but they're going to bring in their so-called legal expert here in a minute, and she's going to paint a picture that is nothing like the actual truth. She's going to tell you how they wanted that sweetheart deal to go through, kind of slip it in and get Hunter absolutely no punishment for anything that he has done or for future crimes because they were afraid of retribution by Republicans. Come on, man.
Biden shouldn't be treated differently than anybody else. So why was he? Because he was. If his last name was Smith, these charges would have never been brought. If his last name was Jones, they would have never blown up the plea deal that they already had done, that the judge respected. I mean,
public statement, quote,
that's a good question.
Melissa,
I mean, honestly, that really is
possible.
No one in this country.
Verdict.
That actually is a pretty good question because Hunter, this probably wouldn't have
shouldn't
happened
be treated differently than anybody else.
And lots of people have probably have committed this thing. And I listened to Alan Dershowitz, and he gave a pretty good view of it. See, there are crimes on the books or charges on the books, and almost anybody and almost everybody could be guilty of something at any given time. But any prosecutor could pick a person and go find a crime if they searched hard enough, which is amazing that they searched so hard to find a crime on Donald Trump and had to elevate and expired. They couldn't find one. They couldn't find a crime. It was too difficult for them to find a crime. But anyways, he brings up a good point. So actually, why is this wouldn't have probably come about if it were anybody but Biden, but it's definitely not just because of his name. It's not just because his dad is the president, and it's not just political as they'll try to lead you to believe. Some of this, I think, is because they needed a conviction that was obviously a cut and dry case. There was no way that Hunter was going to avoid this once the charges were brought. But they needed a conviction to look back after that sham of a trial that they put the conviction that they put Donald Trump through, they needed a conviction of Hunter to say, look, we're impartial. That's the president's son. I mean, I think it should be plain as day and clear to everybody to recognize that. But I don't think this was just because his last name's Biden. I think that is some of it, but it's a much bigger play here. See, they're using the obvious and blatant crimes that Hunter has committed and are inarguable. No, these are cut and dry cases, but the ultimate goal is to find out and to see catch Joe and the global crimes that the entire family has played a part in. See, Joe Biden has essentially used his junkie son Hunter to enrich the entire family, and it seems fairly obvious, but we'll have to see what the House committee comes out with their report to see exactly what that entails. But I believe that they are involved in some major global crimes that will be, I don't want to say easier, but become much more obvious as we see the crimes that Hunter has been involved in. So I think that's mostly why this charge was brought up to Hunter, where it may not have with someone else. So anyhow.
So why was he? Because he was. If his last name was Smith, these charges would have never been brought. If his last name was Jones, they would have never blown up the plea deal that they already had done, that the judge respected. I mean, again, I'm a big believer. It went to the jury, and I believe in the system. And we'll always believe in the system. But
you hear him? He was almost second guessing the system there, but they've run since Donald Trump's conviction. They've said, "Oh, we always need to trust the process and trust the system." So he came within a hair of stepping over that line, and then he pulled himself back because he realized where he was heading with that. I thought that was interesting.
He doesn't need to come out and lie and say that Hunter Biden's being treated like everybody else, because Hunter Biden is there because of his last name. End of story. And a lot of Trump people could say the same thing about what happened in Manhattan with Alvin Bragg. But in this case, Biden was there because of his last name and nothing else.
And by the way, some Republicans.
See, when they drop absolutes like that in the media and nothing else, that's bullcrap. And it's bullcrap because they are always lying when they drop these absolutes. Like in the case of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, it was totally unprovoked. We heard that how many times? Completely, utterly unprovoked. They say this and then they'll repeat it. These absolute statements to convince you, the viewer, not you particularly, but the viewers, when they know it's blatant falsehood.
Republicans have said the same, Joe. Senator Lindsey Graham said that last week. You even had some very pro-Trump Republican members of Congress, again, as I said, disappointed, I think, by this outcome because they wanted to show a two-tiered system of justice, saying that this trial had always been kind of silly, that it was a distraction from more serious things to look at.
Now listen, we're going to hear hear them go into the soft voices and oh, poor Hunter again.
With Hunter Biden. They're saying that now after the fact. Let's bring in former litigator and MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. Lisa, good morning. What's your reaction to the verdict in Delaware?
My reaction, Willie, is that this is the paradigmatic both and situation. What I mean by that is you can find that the jury's conviction here is just that Hunter Biden knowingly possessed and applied for a firearm, understanding that he had been an addict and that addiction is a...
That's true. It was a cut and dry case. So when they keep trying to compare this to the Trump case where they had to actually look back to find an old misdemeanor that was expired and then build it up to create and fabricate a felony, when it takes that much legal gymnastics to convict someone, I mean, obviously there's not much in the way of crimes in the guy's history.
Continuing state that it doesn't stop and start, but rather once an addict, always an addict. And at the same time, as Joe said, you can not only find the situation to be totally tragic, but believe that it never should have happened in the first place, that the plea deal that was engineered between the U.S. Attorney's Office and between Hunter Biden's then lawyers was one that should have been honored. And it fell apart principally.
You hear them saying that it never should have been brought in the first place. Now, I say this in Trump's case, and like every legal expert is saying that. Every single legal expert on both the right and the left says, maybe not this lady, because she's clearly paid for her opinion that agrees with Democrats. But yeah, you've heard that from every trustworthy legal expert, and even some that are incredibly biased, that case should have never been brought. So they're going to bring this up, but I don't think that's true. I don't think that's so much true. It had become too big in the public eye once the laptop was exposed, and then he goes on national TV and says, yeah, I was an addict. Well, I don't know if he went on and confessed to the crimes. At that point, there's really no way that it couldn't end up going to court. He confessed in his book. He confessed on national TV in several interviews. There was really no way to go back and say, yeah, we can't bring this crime, or we can't bring charges here.
For two reasons. It fell apart first because the prosecutors wouldn't commit themselves to saying that the plea deal fully resolved all possible investigations against Hunter Biden, including those under the Foreign Agent Registration Act stemming from his work in Ukraine. But the other reason it fell...
Well, they didn't want to say that. It fell apart because the judge caught it, and she said, hold on, has this ever happened before? Are you familiar with any case? Asked the prosecution, asked the defense. Have you ever seen this happen in any case where someone is... alleviated from charges and any potential future charges on crimes? I said, no. So it was thanks to the keen eye of the judge, who was meticulously looking through the plea deal, that it was caught, essentially. Not yeah. Now, what I don't understand is why they couldn't have gone and just worked another deal. But I think that's because Hunter Biden is just, I think it was just his ego. He's never faced consequences, and he figured, well, I'll just say not guilty and follow with that. And then I'm not going to face any punishment. My dad's the president, So I think that played a big part in it, because that's always worked for him through his whole life. Again, here he is, 54 years old. The guy's a dirtbag. He's committed mega crimes and never been held accountable for any of them, because he is a senator's son, then he was a VP's son, now he's a president's son. So not until 54 years old did his criminal activity finally catch up to him.
Apart is because the judge who oversaw this trial, Mary Ellen Noreika, bristled at the idea that she should have to supervise the question of whether Hunter would be in compliance with the diversion agreement that was set up to handle the gun charges. And the reason that that deal was struck in the way that it was is an unspoken reason, and I'll tell you what it is. It's because the prosecutors here and Hunter Biden's lawyers feared that because the diversion agreement was 2 years in duration, in a possible future Department of Justice controlled by Trump and or another Republican who was retributive against Hunter Biden, that person would have an excuse to say Hunter Biden was out of compliance, that he deserved to be thrown in prison. They didn't want a future Republican DOJ to have control over that decision. And therefore, in the plea agreement, they engineered it so that the judge would oversee that determination. When they presented the plea deal to her last...
So listen to this. Here's what she's saying, right? They tried to slip this gun crime into a sweetheart deal that would have got him a diversion program, would have essentially let him off with nothing except maybe a light probation, if even that, but and maybe drug testing for a little while. So they did all of this. this is how they're so absurd. They wanted to tell you and preach to you about, yeah, respect the process. But now she's saying that they wanted to do that so that a later administration, potentially a Republican administration, couldn't come back and have retribution. Well, what they meant was, I mean, this what she is saying is that they tried to slip it in so he wouldn't ever face consequences. I mean, that's what it is. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's how he has lived his whole life, slipping it under, hiding it, covering it over, shielding from daddy, shielding from dad's influence, shielding from dad's power, shielding from dad's money, and he never faces consequences. And that's what they tried again here. Believe that.
Last July, she said, why should I be in control of that? That's not my decision to make. But what she didn't understand and what no one could say to her on the record is we're doing it this way because we fear retribution against Mr. Biden if it's not set up this way, Your Honor.
Well, if they can't say it, then it's what does that say? I mean, what does that say about the legal system? She's right there saying that, yeah, the legal system is a sham. It's a piece of crap. It doesn't always work the way that it's supposed to. She just undermined the same judicial system that they want to preach to you to uphold, to respect, and all of this. She just undermined it herself by saying exactly that. They were going to slip this under there. What they couldn't say out in public was that she's saying it's dirty. They tried to pull something dirty and they couldn't say that in public.
Lisa, could you speak to the jury what happened yesterday, a jury trial? The son of the President of the United States of America is on trial.
Anyway, I'm going to leave it right there. Oh, shoot, I get angry thinking about it. But, yeah, so anyhow, that's that. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Hunter Biden is probably going to face not much punishment for this if they give him 25 years, which is, I think, what he's facing. Even I don't care what Joe says, especially if Joe's on his way out and Donald Trump wins, he's going to pardon him. He's going to pardon him, and if he stays in office, he may not pardon him, but he'll commute his sentence and then pardon him on his way out the next time. Yeah, Hunter Biden's going to get pardoned on this. And if Joe Biden is the president through the next term, any charges that Hunter Biden gets over the next, coming 4 or 5 years, those will be pardoned as well. Joe's going to pardon all of that. And yeah, who wouldn't for their kid? I mean, honestly, who wouldn't for their kid? You don't want to see your kid at 54 years old go spend the rest of his life in prison, especially if it's true that Hunter actually is getting his life back together. And I hope that he is. I hope he's staying sober. I hope that's not all just for show and just pretend. I have a feeling that, I don't know, but I hope that that's true because addiction is a horrible thing to live with, and it's a horrible thing for everyone around the addict. So anyhow, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you think. I'd like to have a conversation about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you the next time.